A lot of people were making money, but they were extremely miserable. Like the more money they made, the more money they hated.
Like how all the entrepreneurs can figure out like what is their why in their business, why they are in entrepreneurship, how they can find out their why, what is their why and purpose of their life.
I believe the biggest thing people need to do, principle wise, is to simplify. That's it. There's one thing people have to know and understand is that we're all geniuses. We have to undercut that genius because we can over engineer a solution so fast, but that's the reasons why it's not scalable, is because it's too complicated.
Everybody have a big goals, big vision, but people are not able to stick with that one vision and with that one goal. So how someone can set the vision and how they can stick with that one vision for a long term so they can actually achieve it, get it done, whatever they are visualizing. Hey everyone, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Warrior Show, and I'm your host Nilesh Jain, and I'm back with another powerful, amazing podcast on our show. So today we have one of the very amazing person, and he is a founder and CEO of From Vision to Victory, and he have visionary mindset and believe in strategic thinking. He's in the industry serving a lot of big entrepreneurs, including Billy Jeans and so many big names out there in the industry, and serve them like crazy and in the industry from over 3 decades. So I'm super excited for this podcast. And without further ado, let's have Fred Smith on the podcast. Hi, Fred.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How are you today?
I'm amazing. How about you?
Any better? It'd be totally illegal. Thank you for having me on.
Amazing. I am super excited to host podcast with you because the conversation we have just before this recording on the backstage, it's really powerful. So I just want to would love to hear your story. Like from where did you started, and you are a mariner, you are in military. So like from military to digital entrepreneurship to marketer, what kind of things it is? I wanted to hear your story from you. So please go for it.
No, I definitely appreciate it, brother. Yeah, with me, what's crazy about it was I had no idea that there was even an industry when I was a young kid. So, like Russell Brunson talks about, I didn't know who Russell Brunson was till about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But prior to that, I was the same guy. I'm from the inner city, Chester, PA. And what I would do is I would actually read the junk mail. And my mom was like, hey, you can look at all of this stuff right here. All of this is your mail, but the stuff with my name on it and your dad's name, give it to us. So I did that for years and years and years and years. And then one of the pieces got me motivated. It was for a publication called the Hume Publication at that point in time. And I had no idea that a guy named Gary Benson Vega had wrote it and all this other stuff, but it motivated me to get a job when I was young. So I was cutting grass because I wanted to get that finance package so much. And that's the power of what we really do, because that shaped me to actually be in the finance and insurance industry and the automotive industry for over 20 years. And I scaled up several companies from zero to a few hundred million, and they all went to multi-billion-dollar companies and still in existence to this day. So, and a lot of that also had to do with that training, as well as my Marine training, as well as we talked about earlier. Shout out to IIDE. Star Digital Marketer here, 2023. Those are my peeps. Love you. So everything's all good. Just want to make sure that people can really understand if I can do it, because I swear I'm dumb as a box of rocks. I'm not scared to admit it. I just keep things simple. I keep them basic, and I just do the same things over and over and over again.
That's insane, man. Thank you so much for sharing. It's amazing. So, like, how did this vision to victory comes in the picture? Like, how did you get inspiration to create this company from victory, vision to victory? How did the name is something very unique, by the way.
Oh,
the vision to
thank you.
victory. The name is something very unique. So how did you got the name, and how did you got the idea? Like, okay, let me create something like this for market, for audience.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, sometimes you choose things, sometimes things choose you. So the way that came about was from me as a little kid, going back to that story. I had no idea what I wanted to do next. All I know is that I was in an environment that I wanted to change. So I wanted to know how I could do it step by step. So I've always been looking for mentors. I've always been looking for people who have done it before me, and I couldn't find any. So I had to create these lanes. So that's probably why it's super unique, is because I don't watch other people's stuff. It's not like I don't want to. It's just like literally I'm living my own life and I don't have time. Like we talked about earlier on backstage. I'm just like, yeah, I know some of these people. Yeah, a lot of them, I still have their phone numbers. We can talk and blah, blah, blah. But for some strange reason, Fred doesn't get that love and doesn't get that shine. So, and that's what really had inspired me, was because I scaled up all of these companies, but I've been more behind the scenes kind of guy, not up front, because I didn't even know at that point in time there was an industry. Because when I learned this stuff professionally in the Marine Corps back in 1996, there was no industry. So you fast forward to where we're at right now, it's been over 20 years that we have an industry. So I consider myself extremely lucky because I'm just extremely and insanely curious. So when I learned these skills in the Marine Corps, the biggest thing I learned was journalism. So journalism helped me understand that questions are the answers. So the better questions I ask, the better answers I'm going to get. Hence, now I can do prompt engineering like it's cool. I'm in some crazy MLL rooms where you just got to be seriously vetted out. Like, don't even come in unless you're the real deal. And I'm over there crushing the prompts, and they're just like, "How are you doing this?" I'm like, "Well, I've been doing it professionally since 1996."
Yeah.
But so from Vision to Victory came from me just wanting to document everything. But the big aha moment and shift came was when I was working with now Traffic and Funnels, who's no longer with us. So when I was working with them, what I observed was that like there was a whole bunch of people who just just came out the woodworks. It was another wave of visionaries and a whole bunch of other just inspiring and motivating people. You know, shout out to Chris, shout out to Taylor, shout out to Ashton. You know, all of these big names that you guys are seeing. Like we worked behind the scenes, and when Cole had left, I was right there. Taylor called me up, was like, "Hey, bro, I need you over here," and that was when I had my real first taste of actually what the online marketing space was. I was already online, but it was from like a military capacity level. So by the time, like in 1996, as an example, the internet was there, but like people were using it for like shipping tanks and doing all this other illegal arms stuff. The problem was the shipping and handling, so hence the Marine Corps. But I say all of it to say this. I've helped grow and scale companies, even in the automotive industry. I've always been on the advertising side of things. So from Vision to Victory came from literally about almost $1 billion worth of ad spend for real.
Wow.
And what I observed was just that everybody in those categories always miss these two things. When I say always, I mean always. They miss the actual real purpose, and they also miss the actual why of why they're doing it. Because when you do it for the money, it tends to miss the overall purpose of why somebody's in front of you in the first place. It's not to say that you won't make a dollar, but you just can't sustain that kind of energy to want to maybe stay in that lane forever. You know, like I'm the type of person where I just want to plant my flag and just keep it moving, help a lot of people out. But also when I was working with the thousands of like agency owners, it was the exact same problem. It was a lack of that clear vision, just like a diamond. You know, like you can have diamonds that are very occluded, you know, they're kind of lumpy and they got their yellow diamonds and the light doesn't bounce all over the place, or it can be crystal clear like a VS2 diamond, you know, like the light just shines through it and the rainbow happens, right? So that's how I looked at this viewpoint. I'm like, well, I just need to fix this. So hence that's why From Vision to Victory came in. And since then it's just really taken off. So
Man, that's crazy. While I'm
it
listening
is.
this story, I'm visualizing and in this moment, like okay, I'm there and I'm seeing the what's going on. I'm seeing what's going on with your story when you are presenting it. So when you are sharing, like people are um, lack of setting the visions, people are lack of setting their why, finding their purpose. So can you share with us like how all the entrepreneurs can figure out like what is their why in their business, why they are in entrepreneurship, how they can find out their why, what is their why and purpose of their life? If you can talk more on, because this is something you love to talk and I would love to hear, it can be transformation for all the listeners.
Yeah, that's so big that you said that, because again,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I went all the way to India to IIDE. Like I had no idea
Yeah.
that there's a crazy story even behind that because let's just say I just popped out of nowhere even for IIDE. But I've
Yeah.
literally scoured the earth to find this type of thinking because I just know how important it is and nobody's really talking about it or training on it. But also to give proper context and perspective, I've been professionally trained from a very high level, meaning a secret clearance to learn this stuff, right? And now anybody with a phone and a few dollars can run an ad. Well, it's the same ballpark, but it's not the same league. So when you're working at that high level where every single word is literally life or death, because I've been in combat situations, it's just a whole different mindset. So I've taken that mindset even all the way down to the word campaign, and campaign is literally a military term. So
Yeah.
when I
Okay.
got into this, yeah.
Okay.
So when I got into this market, though, what I observed was just that a lot of people were making money, but they were extremely miserable. Like the more money they made, the more money they hated. So what I was doing specifically with my clients and my media buyers and the people who I was training, I was like, well, if you want the answer, just simply go look in the mirror. Like seriously, like ask yourself. This is exactly what I did when I was younger. When I was in the inner city, I sat down. I had like this little computer thing before even people knew what a smartphone was. That's how far. Because after I got Gary Benson Vega stuff, the next thing I did, the first thing I bought like a little Casio thing. But I looked at the calendar and I seriously was like, okay, I was born in 1973. Am I going to be around until 2173? Like, oh my God, like, I might not make it to 100. Like, I started crying, like for real. My mom had walked in. I'm like, I'm crying so hard. I felt like my toenails coming out my mouth. And she's just like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be 100. She's like, boy, get out my face. Like, you are only 7 years old. What are you even talking about right now? But that's like the intensity that I've always had because I know that time is very limited. And that's one of the reasons why I train two specific things in my programs to make sure that people can get what we call RTOs, which is rapid tangible outcomes. Because every day you only got 24 hours. You can never get that back. You can always get a team. You can always get a squad, but you have to look in the mirror and ultimately say, why am I doing this like for real? The money is the outcome. Solving a major problem that everybody has is really the cause. And if you're willing to really serve people to the highest and best level, then the money's just a byproduct because I've made millions, I've lost millions, I've had crazy $60,000 bar tabs at the Ritz-Carlton, all this crazy stuff. Like you name it, I've done some insane things. But it still boils down to purpose because even when I was living like that, I was like, am I really living in my highest and best self? And I knew my answer was no. So
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why I jumped into this lane because I knew that I would bring a different flavor to the game just because I really want to help people out. Like when people see my stuff, they know for a fact, like I really want to help you out because even in 2020, and I'll shut up, I had created a program called Thought Leader Academy. And I had like dozens of people tell me, hey, Fred, this program has saved my life. I'm like, save your life? What does that even mean? Like, I have no clue. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just speaking because I don't have that same kind of experience that everybody does. I'm coming this way. Everybody's coming this way. So now when you're seeing from vision to victory, I literally think that I'm in the sweet spot of my life because I've seen both sides of the track. Like I totally holistically have seen life end to end, working with nothing but multiple 7 to 10 figure business earners for almost 20 years, but also starting from the inner city. So I think I have a pretty good, unique perspective to see how the dots connect. Just saying.
Man, another powerful thought you are just dropping in out, and what you have shared is very much important. Like when we are focusing on always on the focus, we can see like okay, there is something I have to achieve more. There is something I have to achieve more, and something has shift away, gone away, right? That's really makes things sense. What you just talked. You have talked one thing which is like the more money they made, the more money they hit. So I would love to hear more about it. Like, why did you talk this one statement? Because every individual wants to make more money, but this is something I'm hearing for the very first time. Like, more money they make, the more money they hit. The first time I'm hearing this from you. So from anyone. So I would love to know like what is the intention of yours behind talking about it.
Yeah. Well, you said the key thing, the end users, because
Hmm.
now the end users finally have the opportunity to live the same lifestyle as kings and queens. When you
Yep.
really look at advertising and the advertising royalty, they've lived like this for so long that, bro, listen, they don't think like this at all. There's no care in the world. Everything's taken care of. All you do is just show up and just do what you do, and that is it. And even when I was in that lane for a very long time, like 20 years, I could say one thing and thousands of people would move on my behalf, period. So it's not the same thing as somebody who's always struggling. They've got imposter syndrome. I never even heard of any of this stuff, like for real, until
Yeah.
2020. I'm like, imposter syndrome, what does that even mean? So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a different lifestyle. So I'm coming from a different side of the tracks with a different viewpoint, but that's why From Vision to Victory is the way that it is, because I have this concept called dual focus. And the way that dual focus is simple. I will coach you up to your higher self, but we have to clearly define what your higher self is in the first place. I take you through visualization exercises like you're already there, because the mind really doesn't know the difference, brother. The mind has no clue whatsoever. I want to be super clear about that. The only difference is that you're aware of it, but the other problem is that you have to find somebody with the know-how, and you have to turn that wrench a certain way until you actually can make it manifest and come to reality. It's no different than architecture. You know, everybody has buildings where they live, but somebody had to think through that complete thought in order to make it happen. It's no different than somebody putting on their GPS, they're going from point A to point B. We don't cry, worry, and get upset about that. But the problem with what we do as entrepreneurs is that you don't have somebody with a clear path like me and go, hey, turn left over here, turn right over here, turn this wrench right here, do this
Yes,
and do that. That's the difference, brother. That's the difference. When you have that kind of certainty, then you know it's totally possible.
indeed. And having certainty is can actually help you to lead any number of result or journey that you wanted to achieve. Having certainty in the process, right?
Somewhat, because you can be certain, but if you
Hmm.
don't have the real know-how, then it's just
Hmm.
like me pushing this wall right here. I can push this wall right here, but there's no guarantee that it's going to fall. You have to have
Yeah.
special tools, like I have to have a hammer, I have to possibly have a bulldozer, right? So there's a certain amount of, yes, that confidence that you need to have, but you also have to have the know-how, and you also have to have the wherewithal. But that's what's missing in this lane is true know-how. Is like most people guess, most people will gaslight, and most people will just do what they have to do and screaming. And next thing you know, they have this agency and they're making all of this money, but they didn't get it the right way, and then they wind up failing. It's no different than like climbing a flagpole versus having a pyramid. With my method, you build those bricks one brick at a time. So if something hits it, you kind of go, what just happened? Versus a car hitting a flagpole, it kind of bends over, right? This is how these advertising, when you look at how advertisers scale, they scale really fast and it's really vertical. The horizontal game comes from the actual marketing aspect of it, but you put both of them together and you have a holistic approach. So when you have that kind of certainty, you can't guarantee it, but what you can do is you can stack the odds in your favor so that you ultimately will have that outcome. But you have to make the main thing the main thing. You have to keep it simple. You have to stay focused. Like you have to
Yeah.
really want it every single day to literally obsess over it. And most people just don't do that.
Yeah, that's very much important. Having clarity and the focus with the whatsoever we have to achieve,
Yeah.
it's very much important. And at this point of time, setting up vision is also very much important, right?
Yeah.
So, how people can set their vision and stick with that one vision? Like, okay, uh, I wanted to launch or I wanted to build something very big. This is everybody have a big goals, big vision, but people are not able to stick with that one vision and with that one goal. So, number one thing is how someone can set the vision and how they can stick with that one vision for a long term so they can actually achieve it and get it done whatever they are visualizing.
Well, I can give you exactly what I train my clients on. And the big thing is to really live within, if not below your means. And people hate when I say that. But the reality of it is, if you look at most of the major players, they all started out the exact same way, in a garage, in somebody's apartment, in a room. The reasons why is because when you don't have any other of the distractions, then you're able to really focus. Then you can really clearly see. You know, like me, at one point in time, I had 21 dogs, I had like 15 cars, all of this other crap, right? And it's cool that you have it, but the thing about it is it was taking me away from my main focus, which was really to help people. And then it just, regardless of how much money you have, like they just talked about Bill Gates no longer being the top billionaire. He's selling his 2 yachts. It happens on all of these levels. Sometimes you just don't hear about it. So the reality of it is, if you stay really focused, and I call that cognitive focus, what happens, and you also have to be still. Like you have to ask yourself, is what you thinking, is that really what you want? Because with advertising and marketing the way that it is these days, it's very persuasive. It could be somebody else's dream that you think is yours when in fact it's not. Like as an example, with me and Gary Benson Vega, like I said, never met the man, but I always had a dream and an inspiration to be doing something finance wise. And I did it for a very long time. A lot of the changes that you're seeing around the world, I have personally stroked the pen and talked with other people to make those changes happen. Right. But now that I had lived that dream for so long, it was like, oh man, I made that come true. I didn't even have a college degree, but yet I'm sitting here making $10 to $17 million per month in receivables for one major company. And that's just one of them. So the thing about it is, what we have to realize is that at some point in time, we have to, instead of having these big goals, we have to have the small goals as well. That's what I call my freedom ladder, because there's a certain way that you have to launch. And when you launch that certain way, what that enables you to do is every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, you're spot on and you're not missing. But if you are missing, you have to adjust your conditions and you have to adjust your environment, because your environment is everything. So you have to make sure that you protect your environment and you protect this right here, because if you don't, somebody else will just take advantage of it.
Yeah, protecting environment and protecting your brain, your focus is very much important. So if you can talk more about it, like how they can protect their environment, like what do they have to set some kind of boundaries, or do they have to set some kind of things to protect their environment, or what kind of things they can do? So it would be great if you can just continue on that point itself.
Yeah, got it. Well, the biggest thing is that it all depends on at what level you are currently in your business, because there's 5 different levels that I've identified, from 0 to 10K all the way up to 500K plus a day, right? So anywhere in between that, yeah, and I talk about that in my Above the Matrix book, but literally
Mhm.
there's all of these levels, and when you have that type of level, you have to have a different type of focus. Like as an example, there's some gurus out online right now. The reasons why they can give away the stuff for free is because they know people aren't at that level. And by the time they do get to that level, it's already shifted. And it's not evergreen. Like a lot of stuff that I trained on back in 2015, 2014, a lot of it is still relevant, but you have to be at a different point in the company, if that makes sense. If you're a solopreneur or a startup, your only focus should just be one thing, and that is closing deals. Period. Like get your mouth, get your game, get a credit card, and that's it. Just let's go. And the delivery mechanism can be as simple as a Google Drive or anything else like that. It's not hard. What is hard is realizing that you have to start lifting these baby weights before you start bench pressing 405 pounds for a warm up. That's an ego thing. So if you're unwilling or unable to start from scratch and just get a basic weight, you're not my people, because I already know how hard it is to just get you to unlearn what you've been brainwashed on, versus somebody who wants and needs help and they're willing to be coached up and they have strong mentorship. That's who I like to talk to. So it's always going to be an ego thing. And when you realize that, there's a skill of getting out of your own way. So once you realize it and you admit it, then you ask for help, and then the help just magically shows up. That's why they say when the student is ready, the teacher always appears. That's why that works like that.
Yep, that's very much important to understand for entrepreneur, for business owners, and for every single individual. If this is something that can transform your life, your journey, and it can definitely best thing to do at all, right?
Yep,
So,
100%.
uh, yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for dropping that mic drop things with us. Amazing. So,
We're just having regular conversations, brother. This is what I do every single day, because again, I value people's time. So I
yeah,
want to make sure that I'm giving you my best up front. And this is what the industry doesn't do right now. It's all of these little gates, but what the industry doesn't realize is that everybody's about 37 years behind. If you're not doing a million landing pages right now that are AI generated and running ads to them, everybody's behind. Just saying.
insane. We can talk more about on AI and this kind of thing, but right now, being in the military, being in the marine for, I think I'm not sure how many years you are in the marine, but
Technically
what kind of,
five, technically five, but a little bit
okay,
more.
5 years. So what kind of things you have experience being in marine, and how did you develop over the period of, because serving community, serving the country, not community, but serving country, specifically in being in navy, being in marine, being in military, it's not easy job. So you have to
Yeah.
work a lot on yourself, you have to work a lot on your mindset, you have to work a lot on yourself at all, right? So what kind of things, biggest learning you have that point of time, that you can actually see that every entrepreneur also have to develop in their daily lifestyle, daily routine? If you can talk on this point, it's going to be a bulb on, or value bomb, I can say.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I don't know about the rest of the branches of service per se, because I didn't go through those specific experiences. But what I can tell you is that in the Marine Corps, the first 9 to 12 weeks, if not longer now, all we're focusing in on is mindset. And the reasons why is because the Marines move a different way. They're the other branches of service, I don't get into the fight of like who's the best or whatever. All I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
is that in the Marine Corps, we were trained to be the first ones to fight or be the first ones to die. Take your pick. So there's a special way that we were trained how to move, and I learned those special ways of how to move. And all throughout that process, they're challenging your ego because, again, as an example, I've been out in combat situations. So if somebody tells me to duck, I'm going to duck. I'm not going to sit here and ask for a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to ask for an opt-in. I'm not going to ask for a two-step. It's like you duck. Like, and how fast can I? And how fast
Yeah.
can I do that? So they spend just that time just to get you to move a certain way and understand that there is good control and there's also bad control. So the good control, that's the reason why it's based on rank, based on authority, based on other things. You have to trust the people in front of you. You have to trust the team. There's so many elements that I learned just by being in the Marine Corps. Then after that, I went to Marine combat training where there's a whole different skill set that you learn there. And then I learned all the stuff that I learned that I'm talking about, back in 1996. But I had to earn that right. I even had to test into it. That's how hard it
Yeah.
was. So you're talking about ultimate mindset. The only school that was just as hard as mine, for the record, was the nuclear school. That was it. Like, and the nuclear school was a year and a half long. All of mine combined was a little bit over a year. But my point is, I had to really get broken down and built up back into a different type of person in order to be able to really overcome and adapt. And that's the whole purpose of the mindset, because without mindset, I don't care what anybody says. I have proven time and time again, even in the biggest and best rooms, that I can give you straight up the answer and you still may not be able to execute on it because you don't have this dialed in a certain way to see the outcome. Or what about this and what about that? I'm not sitting here talking about what ifs. I'm already letting you know, like, this is what it is per the data. Like I'm very data driven. So it's like, okay, per the data, go this way. Per the data, go that way. And the question is, are you willing to move in that direction? That's the reasons why you have to control your environment a certain way. That's the reasons why you have to show up every day, every day a certain way. That's the reasons why you have to simplify your life, because less is more in this game. Don't look at what somebody in front of you is already doing. Look at what you're doing and literally mind your own business and find a team, find an environment, find a resource like this podcast that will support you in your journey. I think it's brilliant.
Loved it, man. Thank you so much. You used two statement. One is earn the right, and second is less is more. This two statement reminding me my mentor Blair Singer. I attended his programs, and he always used this statement like, okay, earn the right. You have to earn the right, and always less is more. Because what happened is, like, we are always try to consume this information, that information, and okay, I wanted to learn this, I wanted to learn that, but in reality there's no implementation, and if there's no implementation, there's no result, there's no success. So, and now thanks for dropping out the again golden nuggets, bulbon moments for from this point of view, but really amazing for listening your
If I can
experience being in
snack
that.
on that for a second, I actually want to add to what you just said for a second,
Yeah,
because
go.
the challenge is the challenge is most people will miss the actual structure of what you just said. So what I teach my clients is in this order: leadership, marketing, sales, finance, accounting, operations, fulfillment, and follow-up. If you don't understand the basic foundations of exactly what you need to know first, then it's hard to figure out what you need to know. You follow me? It's no different than an architect with the blueprint. The stuff that most people focus in on is the sizzle. I focus in on the steak because the steak is what we eat. The sizzle's cool, but if it's not leading to the steak, I don't care. That's the reasons why I had to give that bomb as well, because literally I don't hear anybody else talking about that, and that to me is a big myth that needs to be crushed. Because right now, again, if you're under 30K, you have a sales problem. Find the
Yeah.
best sales stuff ever that resonates in the market, that's unique. Get up to a certain amount, and then what happens is you start vibrating. You're getting this resonance. Oh man, I need to get my marketing up. Oh my god, I need to get my leadership up. It literally is that way. It's vibration and frequency with me all day long.
Crazy. Man, you are always dropping a lot of nuggets. I'm out of the word. What should I add here? Thank you so much for adding the nuggets. I love this one thing. Thanks for dropping it. So,
No, you will.
you have collaborated with a lot of global brands, a lot of big names out there to redefine their marketing excellence, and you work a lot on talk a lot about in this one thing. So what principles or the way you set their message, how do you make it like they can go from again from a non brand to a legacy brand, right? So if you can talk like how they can set up their messages right there in the marketplace so they can get more visibility in the market.
So to answer your question, I believe the biggest thing people need to do, principle wise, is to simplify. That's it. I mean, really, if there's one thing people have to know and understand, is that we're all geniuses. We have to undercut that genius, because we can over engineer a solution so fast, but that's the reasons why it's not scalable, is because it's too complicated. When you're watching somebody with a very complicated funnel, it's because they're going into more of the fine art and science of what we do. But they had to really see it in order to be able to see these other angles and these different approaches. Just make the main thing the main thing. If you're getting too smart for your own good, look at your bank account and go, okay, I need to fix this. It's just like, I promise you, it's that simple. And it means that you're
Yeah.
not listening hard enough to what the market really wants and needs. And that's where you're at. You got to literally listen, and you have to ask the right questions.
Yeah, that's very much important to asking a right question, because it's not about what question you are asking, but it's all about if you are asking right question or not. I don't know where exactly I read this one statement, but if you ask really great question, you can get really get best answer, and you get all the solution of your problems.
But yeah, just being able to just really focus in and just, I'm telling you, I single-handedly teach that a lot, and I wasn't even trying to do that. But what I discovered was that people just have noise in their life, either in their minds or people running ads to them or always marketing something. So we have to be able to just really cut through the noise, and the only way that you can do that is through your own simplicity, in my opinion, because I've done it enough and I've trained people. And like, as an example, one of the girls who I know, total killer, makes a few $100,000 a month, and she was sucking. She called me in. You know what her problem was? Her dog had died, and nobody else acknowledged the fact that her dog had died. So it just completely threw her out of her game. Wind up getting that done, no matter how good our skills, our talents, and abilities are. If we become emotionally compromised on something, then it's really going to cause problems. So that would be one specific example of what I'm talking about. That's why I said you have to really stay focused, but also you have to understand that there's a genius in asking the right questions as well, because the genius in that is really, if you're listening to the market enough and really being there, they're going to tell you the answer. You just have to really kind of, oh, I don't want to hear that. You're done. Don't even before you even spoke it, you were out the game. Like, don't do that. Just smack your hand, get a rubber band, pap, whatever. But just really understand that, like, it's not about you, it's about other people for real. And if people can just grasp that idea, then I believe that they would start really flourishing and prospering.
Hmm. Definitely, it's always not about you. It's all about like how you can add value in people's life, how you can impact other people's life, and transform other people's life. Like you are already doing with your content, with your all the other things that already going on, and this podcast is also adding value. So it's all about how you can add more and more value in other people's life. That's really interesting point you just mentioned here. So one thing while in terms of focusing, in terms of setting visions and all of the things, one key factor is time management as well. And you talk a lot about, found that you have something very unique in setting up the time, managing the time, like the things that is already available in the marketplace. You have created something different, so I would love to know like what's that one thing, and how all the entrepreneurs can manage their time effectively, that can actually give them or to the desired result that they are looking for with the
Sure.
time. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I have to answer your question by asking a question. Are we
Yeah.
managers or are we creators? If we're
Are we
creators, then we have to yeah, if we're creators, then we have to create time. We shouldn't be managing time. And what I mean by that specifically is, and then again, this boils down to the noise that I'm talking about. Less is more. So the less that you have in your life, the more time you're literally creating. Now, from there, you're creating a safe space because you do need a safe space. Guess what? I was a Marine. We carried M16 rifles, and if there's a combat situation and I need to get there, I need a safe space. So tanks coming in here, ordnance come in here, like I need a safe space. Like boom, make it happen. So now that's what you're literally doing with your time. Like you have to just blow everything up around you and just go, look, this is my life, it's my time, period in the story. This is how the cow ate the cabbage, and have uninterrupted time. And again, that doesn't happen overnight. It can start out with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 1 hour, then it's one day, then it's 1 week, then it's 1 month. Because I used to at one point in time had a calendar. Then it's time management because I had a calendar at one point in time of 15 months. I knew exactly where I was going to be 15 months out. That is literally 1 year and 90 days. Because when you understand the power of what I'm saying, then you understand the power of collaboration. You understand the power of really serving your market to give them exactly what they want. You understand the power of exactly what you're doing in the first place, because it's supposed to be a fair exchange. And in exchange for that, you get your time, you get your money, you get your freedom, you get everything else. But if you're not doing that, it just simply means that you don't understand this concept, which is the reasons why people sometimes get it twisted. Like, I don't care about time management. I can give you the answer right now as far as how I do my time management in less than 2 seconds. That's already out there. But there's a few steps before that that most people don't think of that I've actually had to engineer. So that's what we call the time creation process. And that's part of my Phoenix Ascension method, because there's 4 elements to it. So the 4 elements real quickly is what we've been talking about, is strategic clarity. Then after that is brand resonance, because you told me that was also very unique in the marketplace. Then we have the time sculptor method. So that step is number 3, which is called the time sculptor method specifically. And then you have the synergy circle. The synergy circle is just overall, like I just talked about, having your calendar out for 15 months. It's a pretty beautiful thing. Just you know exactly what's going to happen. And again, you can engineer some chaos in there if you want. That's fine. But at least you have that choice versus all of a sudden you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. It never made any sense to me. I'm just like, no, like, I don't care. And the perfect example of that is actually The Rock. I mean, there was one story back in the day where I don't know if it was a producer or somebody trying to recruit him, but he made that guy sit on the couch and wait 2 hours because he was working out. He was like, I don't care who it is. This is my time. And he was very serious about it. And then I just read something else about him. They said he carries like 40,000 pounds of weights, and on every movie set that he goes, I'm just like, he is still going hard. But that's the reasons why they call him The Rock. Like, he's straight up just going hard, and that's what you should do. It's your life. You only got one of them. Make it count, and that's really what I believe in.
Man, that's interesting story. I think I also heard this one thing, like there's a person who actually waited for 2 hours or something. I heard the story. I don't remember where exactly it is. Might be in some YouTube video or in any book. But yeah, definitely that's a. And what you said is like we are the creator of our time. We are the one who can create, and love the idea of 15 months. Love the idea of this one thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
So
but
how
at that point in time, I was running half the country for a major brand, and I had a big team, and you got to be organized at that level, like period. Like, it
yeah.
has to be a very fine-tuned Swiss watch. So, and on the solopreneur side, or even the small business side, or even with the small team side, you still have to think that way, because what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be working on your business, not in your business. But with me, I like to do both because I like to stay on top, because trends change, things change, shifts happen all the times. Shifts happen. How about that?
And shifts always happen. How are you organizing the timings that you actually able to come up with the 15 months of 12 in 12 months, like you are organizing that, okay, this hour I am doing this hour I am doing this, or it is in like, okay, on this day I am going to do this.
Mhm.
How exactly you are doing it? Do you have any kind of system or step that you would like to share with us that can actually also help all the other
Yeah.
creators, listeners as well in their life?
Yeah. Just realize we all have the same time. If you don't know how much time we have per week, then that's the first problem. You have to be able to put a number on this. So we all have 168 hours in the week, all of us, period. We all do. And then when you get to that level of a 15-month calendar, like I was saying before, we had a team of hundreds, if sometimes thousands of people. But the one commonality is that we planned. Like there's one thing to have a dream, there's another thing to have a plan. And at that
Yes.
level, you have a whole bunch of other planners, then they roll up to the planners, and then those planners roll up to the planners, and then they roll up to me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, it's either yes or no, and here's why. Because you also have to be mindful of why people are planning certain things because everybody else has their own calendars. So when you really look at it like Tetris, like I don't know if you remember that game Tetris where the things drop and you just kind of you get those different levels and boom, 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 boom. That's how my mind works. I'll see a problem, I'll reverse engineer the problem, and that helps me do the exact same thing with time. It's no different to me. It's like, okay, it's math. Everything to me is math. It's just like, okay, cool. You put the words behind it, but you because you want things to happen. But why do we want that to happen? And what time frame do we want that to have happen? 168 hours in a week. Okay. And also when I was in the military, I learned this thing called deadlines. So you have to be able
Yeah.
to have deadlines
Yeah.
on things. And even if you miss it, so what? You've been able to really put intensity and focus on your day. There's another calendar out there I saw the other day where it's, I think, like 25-minute time blocks and you circle it. And no, I know
Yeah.
Steve Jobs talked about.
So
But
Pomodoro technique.
okay,
Pomodoro
cool.
technique. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's out there. That kind of helps. But then Steve Jobs had emailed that he was like, there's only 50 minutes that like you have an attention span of to me, which is accurate for the average human being. So when you understand like how the time is being spent and your effectiveness and the reasons why this is scientific like that, like you just mentioned the technique. Thank you. It's just
Yeah.
like there's a lot of science behind what we're saying. The question is your ego big enough? Is your ego bigger than the science? Because if your ego is bigger than the science, then this won't work.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like I told you, I'm a basic guy. I only want to do 2 to 3 things. That's it. And because that's what my mind has been focused in on. But I've had to learn all of these other skills because again, as an entrepreneur or as a solopreneur, as somebody scaling, you have to know where you're at in the game in order to be able to do it. And yes, you do when you're starting out have to shift all of those plates. So it may be a little bit hard to get your 168 hours back, but I'll be figuring out who's the expert over here, who's the expert over there. And then you start working and collabing with that. That's a mutually beneficial partnership to me.
Indeed. Indeed. It's a make definitely what you just drop here is you have to work on every single aspect of the things. That's insane. So it's really amazing talking with you. You have dropped a lot of nuggets out there, and I feel like I can talk with you all and all, but time has its own limit. So this is one common question I always ask to all my guests, which is, what is one thing you love to do out of your business? Like, suppose if you are not in business, what is something you love to do outside the business?
Well, I'm already doing it, brother. That's what I'm saying. I live what I call an integrated lifestyle. So, and the
Yes.
reasons why is because I've been doing this for so long. Like, my work is my play, and my play is my work, and I can't even tell the difference. Like, literally, and my wife thinks that I'm psycho, but it's just like, look, that's how we got here. So, it's like crazy rich, normal poor, take your pick. But to me, when you have all of your energy pointed in the right direction, in the same direction, then it's fun. It's just like there's nothing out here that can shake me because it's just like, okay, this is going to happen. I've done this before, boom, boom, boom. But I love to do this, to talk, to help people. I do it all the time. I mean, I do like to play poker. To me, that's a part of the game as well because there's life lessons in poker. So, and I like to play golf. I used to play 20 times a month. But other than that, what people consider recreation, that's still me because I'm focusing on hitting that ball. So when I'm working on hitting that little white ball 300 yards out, that's cognitive focus because this big guy has to hit this small white ball 300 yards. That's cognitive focus. When I'm playing poker, that to me is just strategic clarity because I got other people around me trying to take my money. So it's just like I live
Yes.
this. So it's not like I just take off my hat and just turn it off. Because literally, and I'll say this because I know we got to run. But at one point in time, I used to be at home 6 or 7 days out of the month. I just traveled so much just doing this. So
Wow.
and I wouldn't be, and I did it for almost 20 years. So, so if I didn't really enjoy this specific way of thinking, then I would have done it all this time.
Thanks for dropping this out. One thing, I think I love the things that you are, and your our work is our worship. That's definitely for sure. Even if somebody asks me the same question, I have the same answer for this thing. Like, okay, this is something I love to do, and I always loved it. Thank you so much, Fred, once again for being here, sharing a lot of insights, sharing a lot of golden nuggets, and I'm damn sure it's going to add a lot of value in a lot of people's life. So thank you so much once again. Where do people can find and connect with you?
Cool. Well, they can go to speedscaling.com. They can go to my link tree /Fred Smith. They can see all the stuff that I've got going there. Everything's pretty much automated. So it's just like, just between those two things, you should be able to find me real easily online. But I'm mainly on Facebook just because I love really talking to people over there. And a lot of the gurus that you know are over there in that water hole as well. So they don't really talk about it, but they're all on Facebook. Most of them are on my timeline. So but they can find me on Facebook. And I just started getting back on LinkedIn, but for the most part, yeah. Linktree.com /Fred Smith, or they can go to speedscaling.com. So thank you so much.
Perfect, perfect. So I'll drop all the links below the show notes and also in the description of this particular podcast. So thank you so much, Fred, once again for being here. And people, if you are till this point, I request you go and follow Fred. He's amazing person. Share your love to him in the comment section and even if to him in the his personal chat box. And one thing is, if you are till this point, don't jump on any other podcast. Is implement what is the one thing that you want to apply in your life or in your business from this one podcast. Implement it in any way, but make sure you can implement it. And thank you so much. Till then, Nilesh, signing off from the Entrepreneurs Warrior Show. Have a great day.